Okay, so on Friday, this shtickle is very, very, very hard. I still don't have it, but I'll tell you a few things that hit me of just interesting understanding. The Rebbe built this whole Torah of Malchus needs to be chaburas, that Malchus needs to be lahazar leichiach. Chaburas means building and expanding the Malchus. How do you expand the Malchus of Hashem? If you are an officer in the Melucha of Hashem, and you have power of influence and leadership over Seif Bevesa, or whatever your Melucha is, then your obligation, your responsibility is to be Mazer Mechiach, to get everybody in line of the Malchus of Hashem, and they should be Mashpia Vayt to the people that are under them, which means that Malchus has a hierarchy, and each person, Kollel Toras Chaim, has to understand that he has this Malchus, and his Malchus is not just himself, it's all about building the Malchus of Hashem, serving the Melucha of Hashem, Lahavdil Abdullah, serving the United States of America. And each person that understands that he's part of building the Malchus of the United States of America, well, Lahavdil, what we're talking about, the Malchus of the Eibishter, so he has to be Mazer Mechiach. But the problem is, this Malchus, when you don't use it, you use it for Lahana'asai L'tzarcha, when you do it in a way of yourself, which is a challenge that every one of us is challenged from the moment we're born till the moment that we die, because we were given this power of influence and leadership, and we use it for ourselves, not for the Malchus of the Eibishter. Then it's a Rabbanos Mekaveres as Bala, then the Malchus itself, you are making distance between that power of using it for the Rabbanu Shalom and the power of, hold on 1 second, this is an interesting phone call. Hello? What's doing? Anyway, so the Rebbe was telling us that this Malchus, the problem is that every time we do the Hanosah L'tzorcha, it's a Rabbanos Mekaveres as well. So what do you need to do? You need to infuse the Malchus with Arichus Yomim. Chaim. And what is Chaim? Chaim is Daas. Why is Daas Chaim? Because in order to know, do your responsibility correctly, not fall into Rabbanos Mekaveres as well, you have to know the needs of everyone in your Melucha, and you also have to know who's in your Melucha, because there's a Malchus B'Iskasya. So Rebbe tells us you need to go into this container, this prescription called Arichus Yomim, lengthy days. Where do we get the lengthy days? We get the lengthy days through Eisek HaTorah. Why? Because Be'etzem, what is Chaim? Chaim is Das. How do we know that Chaim is Das? Because the Rebbe says, we say that a person does it for the life of him, he doesn't know. You see that life and knowledge are intertwined and interconnected. So the Rebbe says that how do we acquire this thing called Das, which we say every day, that we're acquiring Das. Das is not something that I'm born with. Intellect is something I'm born with. Bina is something I'm born with, but Das is something I need to acquire. How do I acquire that Das? Through Eisek HaTorah B'Peh. Why Eisek HaTorah B'Peh? Because the Torah is the name of Hashem, and since the way to call Hashem is by His name, so too when you call it, the name of Hashem is the Torah. However, when you're calling the Chai Chaim, Riba Hashem and Mechaba Aner, it could be Riba Or, it could blow up just from the. So you need the Torah, which is made of Tzimtzumim, Oishis, Tevis, Nekudas, Parshas, and those Tzimtzumim give us the ability to connect to the Chai Chaim and get the necessary chayas that we need from the Chai Chaim, which is the Das and the Arichus Yomim. That's how we get the Das and the Arichus Yomim infused into our Malchus. Why? What happened? Why couldn't we get this Das? Why do we need to go through this whole thing of Eisek HaTorah B'Peh? The Rebbe explains to us because there are two Hastaras. There's Hastara when you know Hashem is Musta from you, and then there's Hastara that you don't even know Hashem is Musta from you. And it seems like the Rebbe is telling us that it's coming from two directions. It's coming when the Eibishter is hiding from us, which we're always living in Hastara. This whole world that we're living, we don't see Hashem, because the Eibishter is infinite and Ein Sof. But the Eibishter gave us the Torah that gives us the ability to connect to Him through that Torah and get the necessary chiyus and the necessary das. However, if the Eibishter is muster from you, so you're not able to get to him, even with Esek Torah, because he's muster. And if he's muster with one Hastara, you can search and you can dig and you can find, you can unlayer the Hastara and find the Eibishter. And then your Esek Torah B'Peh will be bringing in Chiyus into your Malchus. But it's when it's Hastara Shebetoich Hastara, when you don't even know that he's muster from you and you think you're connected to him, how are you going to get to that place? The only way to get to them, there's no way. Logically, there is no way to tap in to the Chaya Chaim because you don't even know that he's Muslim. Says the Rebbe, but even though logically you can't, the Rebbe is telling us a Gilui Nifla that even even in the Hastara you can get to this Das. Why? Because the etzem knowledge, acknowledgement, is also part of Das. What we said is that the Rebbe is teaching us that Das has many components. There's acknowledgement, there's awareness, there's clarity, and there's connection, or connection and clarity. And those are four parts that are components of Das. And the Rebbe tells us that step one of Das is acknowledgement. When you acknowledge Hashem everywhere, that is already Das. So even if you did Averis and you understand that in everything, the Eibishter is everywhere, and there can't be something existing in this world that doesn't have Hashem, even the things that are distant from Hashem, like we said in the beginning of the Torah, even if they're serving Avodah Zarah, they're really serving the Eibishter because everything is Hashem, just in a very, very concealed way. It is the Malchus of Hashem. So by acknowledging that we acknowledge that even in the Machshava, Dibur, Ma'aser of the Avera, the Eibishter is there, then even though we don't know that he's muster of me, but if I'm constantly acknowledging his existence everywhere, that in itself is Das. Why? Because how did we come to the Hastara? We came to Hastara because of a Vashana, Nasa Lekeheter. Because we did an Avera, and we changed the mutter into Asa. And the Rebbe says, what did we change? We changed the Oisis HaTorah, which is the Chiyas that is in everything. And we were Mahapach Divrei Elikim Chaim, and we made Asa mutter. That's one Hastara, because you still know that you made Asa mutter. But when you continue to do Averis, and you sucking out all the energy of this Oisis HaTorah that said Loi Signoi, and you made it Signoi, so then you took out, the Rebbe says, you changed the Chachmas HaTorah, the Daas of the Torah, the Chachma of the Torah, you changed that into Pesius. You changed it into foolish. You're saying that the Torah is a fool. When it says Lo Yisignai, the Torah doesn't know what it's talking about. That's foolish. You know what the way it is? The way is when I do business, I manipulate and I do things that are not 100% kosher. Why? Because that's the way to do it, because business is business. So what do? I'm saying that the Torah, the Chachmas HaTorah, is passy, it's foolish, it's old-fashioned, it doesn't work in today's day and world. In order for me to get through life, this is what I have to do. The Rebbe said that creates the Hastara, that you're creating from yourself. And l'chayra, how could you get out of that? Because you already forgot that there was one Oisis HaTorah. You forgot that it's awesome. Your mamish made it old-fashioned. And there's no, says the Rebbe, acknowledge. Acknowledge the fact that the Eibishter is here, even though I'm saying that this is the way I have to do it. I made it signal. I know that you're here. And when you acknowledge that fact, the Rebbe tells you what's happening is you are unlayering that outer layer that you created of the Hastara, and that outer layer is Torah, because you put the Oisis HaTorah the wrong way. You re-scramble one layer with the mere acknowledgement of Hashem, you are here. And when you unscramble that layer, what happens? You now made it back to its original format of the Oisis HaTorah in its original format. And what happens is the Torah is always screaming. Torah machrezes kamayim. What does it say? Beroi shoymiyus, in the noisiest places, the places where you think Hashem is not there, b'chlal, It says, "Admosai pesi tahavu pesi," like the Koheles tells us. How long are you going to be foolish? And the Torah itself is screaming to you and being mechiach you and telling you, Nachman, Mendy, you can do this. You acknowledge this layer. You take off this layer. It's going to give you the ability to go to the next layer and to the next layer. And that's going to reconnect you to your Malchus that you had, that you were mekaveres through the Hastara. And it's going to become a chachma to chayes bala. And that's the Arichus, Yomim, and the Daas that you're bringing in to your Malchus. So Mamela, your Malchus can continue back in the loop of sorry, I love him, sorry, Meir, sorry, Chamishim, sorry, Asaras. And then the Rebbe tells us, I want to tell you one thing, or another thing over here, that this Hastaras, and Hastaras, there's a tzaddik that we said at the beginning of the Torah called Mordechai. And Mordechai represents murderer, mar meaning leadership, drar meaning freedom, expansion. Even when you just acknowledge your Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara, your most outer layer, your most distant part from Hashem, and now the voice of Admosei Pesi, Tav Pesi, what you're doing is you're also not just re-scrambling the Isis HaTorah, but you're realigning yourself with the tzaddik who exemplifies this chayrus. Who was that tzaddik? Mordechai tzaddik, and that's what happened. B'shas Achashverosh, shebechol yoim v'yoim, Mordechai mishalach b'beisan, b'lefnei chatzar beisan. The Rebbe tells us that Mordechai was all day trying to bring into the Yomim, into the Midas, into the place of the Torah and the Kalim. He was trying to bring in Daas. How was he bringing Daas? Because he was always connecting to the Eisek HaTorah. He was calling Hashem. The Karabai Kol Yimei Chayav, like the Melech is mitzvah to be Karabai Kol Yimei Chayav. And he was connecting to the Eivishter with the proper Kalim, but not just for his Kalim. But since he was a Yesh Echad, he was this one tzaddik that had Malchus B'Skasya. In the Malchus B'Skasya, he was working his hierarchy, and he was bringing in Das into all to the Yomim. In the Yomim, meaning even in the Hastara, Shabbatei Hastara of every single Yid, in the Malchus, Shabbat Malchus, in the lowest element. V'chol Yoim, v'Yoim, Mordechai is Halech, Lifnei Chatzar Beis Anoshim. Lifnei Chatzar Beis Anoshim, the Rebbe teaches Chotzer is the courtyard, and Bayis is the house. Mordechai was going into the courtyard in the house, which is the machshavas and the diburim of a person when he wants to do an avera. In order for a person to do avera, he has to go through the thought process, the dibur, and then the ma'isa. And Mordechai Tzaddik was working on the two elements of chotzer and bayis, which is machshava and dibur, to prevent them from coming to the ma'isa avera. Says the Rebbe, lo das shloim Esther, to bring Das into Esther. What's Esther? Esther represents the Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara, because the Torah tells us Esther ben HaTorah menayin. How do you know that Esther is ben HaTorah? V'anoichi Hastara, which is the Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara. Das shloim Esther. Uma ye'osava. Ma, says the Rebbe, represents the Torah. Ma edus v'achukim v'mishpotim. Ma ye'osava. To bring Torah into the Maisim. That chas v'shalom, even if a person does it a Maisa Avera, to bring back the Torah, to bring back to re-scramble the Isis Torah, that it should not be the Isis Mahapach Divrei Ken Chaim that way, but to be Mahapach the Isis Torah back to its original format, that it should be saying Admasei Pesei Tahavu Pesei, which brings, and that's really the whole V'Nahapach that happened on Purim, which was Kabbalah Torah of Purim, of Kimu v'Kiblu on Purim. What does it mean v'nahapach? What was the v'nahapach? Through the tzaddik of Mordechai, he was mahapach back the divrei elikim chaim that every Yid made when he made his hastaras and his hastaras b'toich hastaras, where he was mahapach divrei elikim chaim. He brought back v'nahapach when he brought back the das, and that was the Kimu v'Kiblu haYehudim, the Kimu asher kiblu kvar, the big Kabbalah Torah that happened b'zman Purim. What is the Rebbe telling us? That there are these tzaddikim that they had in the beginning of the time. The Rebbe said, "V'yesh echad shebeisgalia ein lo shum memshala." He's not alive. This tzaddik that gave us this Torah, he's working the whole time to bring us back the voice of how long are you going to be a fool? And to be able to bring Daas and Arichus Yomim into the Malchus, so that the Malchus can flourish, and it's going to be revealed. Hashem says the Heilige Rebbe. How could you go away from this Torah? We're just starting it, Mamish. We're just starting it. The Rebbe teaches us another major component, that this distance of Torah Hashem is Torah Hashem Mamish. This biggest avera, when you see the guy that went to the furthest part, he's so noshim akavtzik. Oh, we didn't talk about the three noshim, that the tzaddik is working on the three types of noshim. The ones who are completely distant, that atheists, they don't want to recognize Hashem at all. The ones who once knew that Hashem was there, but forgot. Good morning. Good morning. And the ones that know that they know that they don't want to be over what Hashem says. They don't want to do averos, but they don't have the power. They don't have the power and the ability to overcome because they're weak. So the tzaddik, he's working the whole time to bring Daas into every type of nashim, every type of weakness, and the Mela, then this gives us the power to overcome the Hastara and the Hastara, and to be able to bring back and understand that we're officers in the Melucha of Hashem, and that we're all working. We were created with a purpose, and our purpose is not just to be selfish in our ruchnias, first in our gashmas, but and certainly in ruchnias, we said the challenge is much more. The person starts going to ruchnias, he starts feeling superiority. And not only that, the other people are making fun of him, so he has no choice to be in his place of superiority. But a person has to understand there is no such a thing as superiority. Malchus of Hashem, the higher you go into the hierarchy of the officer of the Malchus of Hashem, and you get promoted, the more lower you have to feel of yourself to be able to give from that Malchus to everybody. The humbleness, the more humbleness you have to feel, the more you have to not feel superiority of lahanos and tzarchai, but that my tachlis is only to bring more and more people closer to the Eibishter, to bring the B'chaisel Hashem Amlucha. So Rabbi is big magalas that this is like fascinating. This is mamish the part that's uncomprehendable. That not only do you do this by unlayering your Hastara, and the tzaddik is doing this the whole time, but the biggest Hastara, the biggest atheist, the one who's the most distant from Hashem, when he reveals that layer and he acknowledges the Eibishter in that place, in the most distant place in the world, that's the biggest Sisrei Torah. That's the biggest potency of Torah. That's the biggest Eibishter. The biggest godliness that you can find is in the place that's most distant from Hashem. Why? Because in order for it to have existence, it needs to have chiyas of the Eibishter. And since if it had a lower level of Torah, the klippas would then be yonik from that Torah, and we wouldn't have a chance of getting out of it. So therefore, the Eibishter with his rachamim gedolim, like we're soon going to see, he took the biggest potency of godliness and concealed it with the biggest concealment in the most distant places in order that chas v'shalom, when a Yid falls into these distant places, he should be able to reveal that Hastara. When he reveals that Hastara, he's revealing the biggest Sisrei Torah. And that's what happened in Mitzrayim. When Klal Yisrael was in the lowest level, and that says one more second, we wouldn't have been able to get out of it, because the Malchus, the Sitra, the Malchus Arisha would have succeeded. The Eibishter himself had to take us out of Mitzrayim. Vavati b'deretz Mitzrayim, ani v'loy malach, ani v'loy shliach, ani Hashem v'loy yacha. That the Eibishter couldn't send any messenger. It had to be Rebbe Nachman himself, which is the biggest, most infinite, unlimited spirituality and godliness that there could be, was in this Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara. So the Mela, when we reveal our Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara, and we are able to bring that back to the Eibishter, that's how we bring the Malchus into a place of Lahazer Leichiach, and we're doing our responsibilities, and we're building the Melucha of the Eibishter. Then the Rebbe tells us, yes, everything I told you, Gevaldik. But understand that there's another challenge here. Not only the Hastara Shabbatoi Hastara, that you're falling into your Averis, but just like there's Malchus of Hashem, there's also Malchus Arisha. And the component, Zelu Umazed, the Eibishter made one against the other. So even though you got this, okay, you listen now to Likutei Moharan, we learned Torah and Vav, and we got it, that, okay, now on, Eibishter, I am your officer, I am starting to be Mazer Meichiach myself, I'm going to be Megala my Hastaras, I'm going to infuse my Malchus with Arichus Yomim. You know how? Because I'm going to learn Torah B'Peh. I'm not only going to learn Torah B'Peh, but everything I do all day is going to be B'Peh. I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to acknowledge you. That's the whole eights of the Torah here. The eights of the Torah is just talk about Hashem everywhere. I'm talking to Yankov Shmerel, the Eibishter, I know you're here. I'm talking about women, Eibishter, you're here. I'm talking about men, I'm talking about business, money, Eibishter, you're here. Everything that I'm doing, I'm being misasik with my path, and I'm bringing the Torah in to my life everywhere. Givaldik. So now, my Malchus is good, and even when I'm in Aveira, I'm also going to say, Rabban Shalom, in my Machshava, in my Dibur, in my Maisa Aveira, I'm also going to say the ear. Just want to say that I was away last week. Baruch Hashem, I had a beautiful trip, and there was challenges. There were challenges. Every challenge that I had, Baruch Hashem, the challenges were way different. They were not the challenges that I used to have, but every challenge that I had, I said, Rebbe Shalom, I know you're here. I know you, and it was challenging. And a person could say, you're crazy. You're in such a situation where music is Bedouins music and Setitzach Vanala Zaitin around you, Tansi, beautiful. Over here, you're going to acknowledge Hashem. Yeah, I'm acknowledging your existence over here. I'm weak. I went through him. I had his body this day. I said, I'm weak. I don't have the power to overcome. Hopefully next time I'll have the power to overcome. Not only don't I have the power to overcome, but there's going to be moments here where I forget about you. Rabbi Shalom, I'm giving a Moisa Maidah. I'm acknowledging your existence here the entire time. And even when I forget you, you're here. And I'm acknowledging that too. And even when if Chas v'Shalom, I jump away from you, I'm acknowledging your existence. I'm weak. I am weak, but I'm acknowledging your existence. I want to tell you that I had tremendous siyata d'shmaya. Tremendous siyata d'shmaya. And a beautiful trip, be'emes. And I feel that I revealed Hastara. I was able to take off layers and layers of Hastaras that I went through. So what I'm saying is this is practical. This is not EBGB, Yababuba. This is practical. You mamish when you internalize it. And you just start acknowledging Hashem more and more and more and more. And not only that, I came back on fire. I'm telling you, I came back. Anybody who and I didn't learn a word. I learned every day Mishnayos. I didn't really learn the Likutei Moharan while I was there. I came back on fire like I was in Eretz Yisrael, like I was in Oman. How could it be? I went to Mykonos, to the biggest over there, I'm being Megala the Eibishter. Yeah, the Rebbe is telling you could be Megala the Eibishter everywhere. He's not telling you to go to Mykonos. But if you're trapped, and that's my trap, and everybody has their trap, everybody has their place, everybody has their place of their Hastara, and you go and you acknowledge, and you really start saying, I really want to be in your Malucha. I'm a failure. I'm not worthy of the honors that you give me in the leadership role that you're giving me. I'm totally not worthy. But I want to be worthy. I want to be a Sari Aleph. I want to bring more and more people closer to you. I'm stuck. I'm trapped. I'm years and years, 55 years of Hastaras and Hastaras of Hastaras. When you go into that acknowledgement, the emes, you're going to see it's a power. It's mamish a power. It's not to be understood. It's a power. Mamish power. It's not just, oh, it's a nice chizuk and it's a nice theory. It's a nice thing. You can internalize it and you can change your life with it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, says the Rebbe Weiter. So the Rebbe tells us that we're just reviewing the Torah because we're holding by a very hard piece here. And it seems like the next piece is almost unrelated to the previous pieces, and I feel it's very related, and that's why I want to remind us the whole loop of the Torah. So that when we go into it, we should start trying to connect the Torah. So the Rebbe told us that again. What was the Malchus? What's the Malchus Kedusha? The Malchus Kedusha is Ma'aseh Mikol HaMachnas. It gathers. What is it gathering? It's gathering every element of Klal Yisrael that fell away and bringing them back to the Malchus of the Eibishter. We explained that Malchus of Hashem is not complete until the lowest Yid is in the Melucha, is working for the office of the Eibishter, for the offices of Hashem. But there is something called Malchus Arisha, which is working the whole time against us. And what does it do? It also gathers and collects. What is it gathering and collecting? It's collecting the weak people, the us's. And how does it attack us? It attacks us with not just noshim, like we said before, but more primarily it attacks us with money. And the reason why it goes for money, because money has very high nitzaitzis HaKedusha that are coming from Gvonim Ilan, coming from the highest places, but it's diluted into currencies and lust and the Malchus Arisha. In order for it to protect itself, it continues to gather money on top of money, on top of money, on top of money as security, because you're never going to be free of this place. It's a trap. Once you go into the trap of money, you can't get out of the trap of money. That's what the Rebbe is telling us, because the Malchus Arisha is always being ma'asif. And who's it attacking? The weak people, the ones who think and justify that I can be ruchnis and not go to Mykonos like Nachman Fried. I just go to my office over here, but I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm not acknowledging Hashem there. And what is happening? Same exact thing. Same exact thing. I am distancing myself with Hastaras and Hastaras Shebetoich Hastaras, and I'm using Lahanose L'Tzorchai, and it's Harabonos Mekaberes as Baalel, and it's the same exact Averis, just without anybody knowing, anybody seeing. So it maybe even be worse, because it's me, between me and God. It's me and God. Says the Rebbe, when you go into this place, you get trapped. But the tzaddik, he has the ability not just to take you out of the trap, but all this netzoitzes hakdusha that fell away into the Malchus Arisha because you disconnected in your way of money from Hastaras and Hastaras Shebetoich Hastaras, the tzaddik, he has the ability to recapture the money that was given into the Malchus, that you gave and supplied to the Malchus Arisha, and created all these Hastaras and infused and made the Malchus Arisha bigger. And the tzaddik is able to take it back in a bechina of chayil balav v'yikienu, and he takes back and recaptures all the money and all the netzoitzes hakdusha, and reveals all the Hastaras and all the Hastaras Shebetoich Hastaras, and brings us back to the Malchus of Hashem. And that's what happened with Zman Achashverosh, that when Haman, who was being ma'asif Mammon, he was using his money and his wealth and his riches to get Klal Yisrael into parties, Suda Shal Oisa Russia, and to bring them into distance and distance of Hashem, which create Hastara, but Hastara. Mordechai Tzaddik, once he was able to bring the Daas back into all these Nashim, the Chatzah Beis HaNashim, and he brought the Torah back into the thing, he was able to recapture all the money and bring the money back. And then the Rebbe says, that's Pshat Eishes Chayil. We were talking about Anshe Chayil, when we were talking about the hierarchy, when Yisrael gave the Eitzah to Moshe Rabbeinu to build a hierarchy within Klal Yisrael, he said, bring me Anshe Chayil. The Rebbe says Chayil represents the money, that there were people with wealth. And the Rebbe says, and then they fell into Nashim, they fell into all types of Nashim, into weaknesses. Or the tzaddik, he brings back and recaptures it, he brings it into the word of Eishes Chayil. He makes the Nashim, all the weaknesses, and all the money, the Chayil is the money, come back and become the Eishes Chayil of the tzaddik. They become the female, the ultimate makabel of the tzaddik, which is represented by the Daas. Then the Rebbe tells us, and that's what happened on, one second. The Rebbe says that not only does he recapture the money, and this Daas that the tzaddik does, that he infuses into God's Klal Yisrael, but when you get Daas, you get Parnasa, because the only reason why you don't have Parnasa easily is, and you have to work hard for Parnasa, because we have Chasar na Daas. But if you have Das, you get Parnasa. Not only do you get Parnasa, but you also bring Shalom. And when you get also, that means Das has in it. This thing of getting Das through Eisek HaTorah B'Peh, it has all the components that is necessary to build a Malchus. What do we need to build a Malchus? First thing you need to build a Malchus, you need people. How do you get people? People have to like you. You have to get people. You want to get voted. You want to run for office. You have to get popularity. You need shalom. You need people to be on your page. They have to agree with your mission. You also need money. Parnasa. Says the Rebbe, if you go Eisek HaTorah B'Peh and you get this Das, you're going to get all the components that you need to be able to run for office in the Maluch of Hashem. I want to be a senator in the Malchus of Hashem because I want to bring more and more people back to the Maluch of Hashem. And the Eibishter is going to give me my money that I need in order to build the Malchus of Hashem. He's going to give me the peace and the love of everything that I need, because that's what's necessary for Malchus. So Malchus, going back retroactively, the Rebbe taught us that Malchus is a power. And there's a Malchus that's revealed Malchus and a concealed Malchus in this power. And there's a hierarchy in the Malchus. And there's different dosages of Malchus. Malchus is responsibility of a tzeifer. Malchus is accountability, that if someone's not doing in his melucha what he's supposed to be doing, then I am accountable. And that Malchus needs components of money and shalom, and everything you get with one thing. Eisek HaTorah B'Peh. And even if you fell out of the loop and you're in Hastara Shabbataycha Hastara, don't worry. You have a way out. Eisek HaTorah B'Peh. Start learning Torah, start talking about it. Start telling the world. What a Rebbe we have. How can we take this away from anybody? Everybody needs to know this. These are revelations. These are. We have to work. We have a job to do. We have a purpose in life. We're getting older. We have a purpose. We have to start working and being Megala, the Rebbe to the world. Which Tzaddik says such Torah? Who gives us these remedies? Who gives us this ability, this awareness, this understanding of what we go through on our daily basis of challenges of what is our real purpose? Who's reminding us this? Eisek HaTorah B'Peh, I want to say, Dafka the Rebbe's Torah, Vada works with any Torah. But Kol Shekain, when you're talking the Rebbe's Torah, and when you're mentioning the Rebbe all day, to anybody you see, and you're not afraid. There's no fear. There's no fear here because Malchus, if not for fear of the Malchus of the Sitra Acha, we would swallow each other up because all we want is la nosei. We need to stop being takers and start being receivers. And the only way to be a real receiver is to be megala, to give everything that you have. If your physicality is agret, your money is for sure agret, that you have to give out your money to everybody. You give your diburim, give your spirituality. We're zoicha to have connection to this tzaddik. We're obligated to give it out. And we can't be ashamed. We have to mamish talk about it. Look what's going on. Individually and globally, we're in the biggest Hastara. If you look around at what's happening, these are the things that happened traditionally before the Holocaust, before the Spanish Inquisition, by Achashverosh and Mitzrayim. We're in the Hastara. We must be Megala, and this is the Rebbe is using us. Why us? I don't know. But he's using us, and he's saying, guys, come on. Go out and tell the world about this. Tell the world that Eisek HaTorah B'Peh. Tell them to go get Chiyus and Daas from the Tzaddik. Says the Rebbe, that is Shuas. Matan Torah, understand what happened by Kabbalah Torah, what happened by Matan Torah. Matan Torah was such a Das Elyon. There was such a revelation of Hashem. It says that the Eibishter was appeared to them like a Zokein Malei Rachman, like an elderly person full of compassion and empathy. Why? Because that signifies Yishuv Hadas. That signifies clarity and connection to the divinity in everything that we are, in every place that we go, and everything that we do, and whatever we see is all divine. It's all really spiritual, but it's concealed, but we're able to connect to the spirituality everywhere. You know how? By Pasha to acknowledgement of acknowledging Hashem everywhere. How do you get there? Eisek HaTorah B'Peh, making Torah everywhere, acknowledging Hashem everywhere, taking the Rebbe's Torah and going with it all day to your wife, to your children, to your friends in the country. No fear. Giving out the Torah. That was the Das Elyon that we got on Shavuos. And that's the mikvah of Shavuos, which represents the Chamishim Sharibina. And that's why the mikvah has such a power to be Mashiach Be'esar. I went to the mikvah this morning. You know what the Rebbe says, by the way? Rosh Chodesh, you should go to the mikvah before davening. That even if you don't go a whole time, but be Rosh Chodesh, and if you didn't go after davening. Mikvah on Rosh Chodesh is very powerful. And the Rebbe told us the mikvah of Shavuos is the most powerful mikvah, but he means every mikvah. Because mikvah Yisrael Mashiach Be'esar. Whenever you're in a tzara, whenever you're in some kind of a trap, in a place where you're not connected to your spirituality, run to the mikvah. That's what you see from this Torah. And not only does it help you in your spiritual sicknesses, but it helps you in your physical sicknesses, because Ein Yisur B'Layovan, there is no physical pain without Averis. And since the Mei HaMikvah, the Torah tells us, that it has the ability to purify you, so that means it has the ability to take away the source of what brings you all the pain, what brings all of us any pain, or any sicknesses that we have, and that's the power of mikvah. Says the Rebbe, and this is where we'll stop now. The Rebbe tells us man. That was the whole thing of the man, that the Yidden had the man in the midbar, because man represents mikvah nun, which represents the das, and then the Rebbe tells us man also represents this thing of maimer pasuach neman pashun, that man, Klal Yisrael got the Eibishter was promised Avraham Avinu that he's going to take them out of Mitzrayim, and that he's going to give them a rechush gadol. But it was a promise. 210 years they were waiting and waiting and waiting, and they didn't see the Eibishter. They were in Hastara Shabbat Hastara. They didn't see the Rebbe Nachman. So what was hidden? What was in Gullus? The Das. the divinity, the connection to divinity. They weren't able to see Hashem because there was no Torah yet. What happened when they went out of Mitzrayim? This Daas started opening up. How does Daas open up? Daas gets revealed through Dibur. The only way to reveal Hashem is through Dibur. Like now, we're learning Torah, and the Dibur that we're talking is revealing the Daas of the Tzaddikim. The only way to reveal Daas is through Dibur. And I was thinking over Shabbos, Dibur has two parts in it. Dibur has in it the koil, the voice, and then the peh, which is the pronunciation. If you just have a voice and you don't know how to pronounce, it's not a Dibur. If you have pronunciation, but the guy doesn't have a voice, then so the Dibur has two components, two major components, koil and peh. The Rebbe said that in Mitzrayim, they were Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the ultimate exemplifying of Das, was a kvad peh, the kvad loshen. He wasn't able, his peh and his loshen. He was missing dibur from both places. He was kvad peh, the kvad loshen. It says that by Matan Torah, the Eibishter gave the Torah, everybody got healed. Moshe Rabbeinu was also healed. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu healed? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was Das, but the Das was in Golus. But now that it came to Mitzrayim and we got to this place of the Das Elyon, that's what gave the ability of the physical. So you see a Raya Gadol here, that the spirituality and the physicality are directly connected. And we think, that's a spiritual thing. No, if we fix our spirituality, we're fixing our physicality. It's not two separate things. It's one thing, Malchus. That's what Das is. That's what the Das Elyon. And that's the Maimon Pasuach, Neman Pasha, which is the Rosh Tevis of Mon. And that's why the Yidden ate Mon in the Midbar for 40 years, because 40 represents Bina, which represents Das, because the Mishnah tells us Ben Aboyim Lebina. And that's what we're holding now, which is Seif Ches. And we will continue this Mañana, Be'ezrat Hashem.
So let me ask you a question, just on the Torah Peh. I just now didn't do any Torah Peh because I listened. That's not called Torah Peh.
You should say it over. First of all, Shemea Koina. I have a raya here. The Rebbe brings Shemia. Where does the Rebbe bring Shemia in the Torah? Seif Davar Hakol Nishma. Eselakim Yirei. That was the raya that Malchus is Ma'asif Mikol HaMachnas. The Rebbe is talking, Shemiah is being a makabel. So yes, but if you don't give it over, and you don't say something of it, you don't have to say all of it, but you don't go to somebody now, your wife, your child, then you're not, the loop of Malchus is not continuing. The revelation of Malchus is through Dibur and Peh. So when you're makabel, then now you learn Torah. But now take the Torah and give it over. You got to give it over. That's
right.
Continuing the chaburas of the Malchus, of expansion of the Malchus.
Or could you say that me as a receiver from my Rebbe or from my Magacher or from my Dafemi, that I'm giving back, because a receiver is ultimately giving back. So the question is,
to the place that I got to, which I got connection to spirituality today in a very big way. Without you, we need each other.
Understood. That I understand. I just get nervous. I'm getting nervous, like you're saying to say it. It's true, I do say it. I said it by Shah. I had guests. I always speak to Rambam's Torah. I'm not saying I don't speak about it, but I'm saying is, like, if I'm sitting here for an hour, or I'm planning on hopefully doing the daf now for another hour afterwards, I'm listening. I'm not talking. So then,
still being,
am I wait?
Still, yes, you are still. As long as you repeat it, you don't have to repeat all of it, but repeat it. Right now, you're repeating it. You're talking. But what's the real Asik HaTorah B'Peh? The Rebbe didn't say Limud HaTorah. The Asik HaTorah B'Peh is acknowledging Hashem with your peh everywhere. In your Hizbodedus. This morning I went for Hizbodedus. You're talking to Hashem. I'm saying I'm in Hastara, Shabbat Hastara. Shabbat, I'm so distant. I don't want to, whatever. Everybody goes through the challenges in the relationships that they have with the people around them. I'm challenged. I was talking to Hashem about my challenge, and I said, Hashem, I don't get it, but I know you're here too. I know you're here too. It doesn't make sense. It's crazy. But you're here too. I'm acknowledging you're here. That's Asik HaTorah B'Peh. To acknowledge Hashem with your mouth everywhere. Everywhere. Start training yourself. The eight that I go out with this Torah is that if I acknowledge you, I'm calling you, and I'm connecting to you at all times, even in the most distant places. And I'm stopping to separate you. I'm starting to include you everywhere. And the more you include Hashem everywhere, that's your Asik HaTorah B'Peh. That's going to bring you Daas.
Now, one more thing I want to clarify, because he speaks about Asik HaTorah, he says about Dibra Peh, Torah B'Peh. It's two different things. You're saying now you're putting it together, Asik HaTorah with Dibra Peh. There's Asik HaTorah is Chesed, which is not physically Dibra, but that's called Asik HaTorah. If you're attaching yourself and doing it out, not for yourself, for the Rebbe Nachman, then it's Asik HaTorah.
Yeah, but you need Shava Dibur Maisa. In every action that a person...
You need Dibur to do Chesed. For Chesed, you need Dibur.
Yes.
I'm going now.
You have
to give out food.
In order for you to get to do, you had to have said, you had to talk. There's no way to go from Machshava to Maisa without Dibur. Dibur is the conduit to get to the Maisa. In order for you to do action, you must talk.
Okay, so I have
Go ahead, let's go.
a couple of things. Just going back, just from the part I heard, it's you're saying that by just speaking Dibur, or by recognizing, by calling out Hashem in the farthest places, we're totally at this point, just to break it down to the most simplistic form, I'm basically negating everything I've learned and saying that this whole world is whatever has been shown to me till now, that the main purpose for me, no matter where I am at, or the matter, not even myself, the lowest of the lows, whoever we're saying to get into the Malchus of all the Jews, has to just come to a recognition at the place that Hashem is there.
Why do you have to negate? Why can't you include? Why negate?
Include what?
What are you saying? Everything that I learned till now didn't teach me this part over here. So I had it all wrong. That's all. Let me throw that all in the garbage. Okay, let me just start acknowledging Hashem. Forget about learning the.
I'm trying to reprogram. Is it reprogramming?
It's could be, by the way, that by you starting to bring Hashem in, you're taking all of those Torah that you learned that you didn't use this way, and all of a sudden bringing life into it, because that's all part of your Malchus. That was all part of Torah. That's part of it.
So if I go out and say I'm going to go and do a road show, and I'm going to give lectures, let's say, theoretically, to all the people of the world, and basically say, hey, whatever you learned, put it on the side. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it. But the thing that keeps coming to me is, so what if you didn't do this? So what if you're in this position? So what? So what? So what? Just acknowledge Hashem, that God's here. That's it. That no matter what, even if you make the decision to go to a certain place and
you make a mistake here.
You want to go there. Like, I want to go to certain places no matter what. I still want to go and blah, blah, blah. And you say, am I using it as an excuse, or am I just saying, listen, I'm too weak? So what? So what? Just acknowledge Hashem when you're there. Acknowledge wherever you are. Just no matter what the situation is, acknowledge that Hashem's there.
Yes.
This is Hashem.
But you don't have to diminish everything else that you did. You built the Malucha till now. You learned Daf Yomi, you learned Halacha, continue. Add this part. Someone came over to me on Shabbos, and he says to me, I really would love to, he sat by the shul, and came over to me after this. He says, I really like learning this, but I don't have time. I said, why not? So he says, what do you mean? I learned Daf Yomi. I learned Mishnah Yomis. I learned Halacha Yomis. I don't have time. Shabbos. I had a few minutes. I overheard you talking. I came to learn. What should I do? I have so much to finish before I learn Likutei Moharan. So I told him, listen to me. I promise you that if you take 15 minutes a day from your learning, take something away, learn Likutei Moharan, you will go back, you will find more time. You're going to go back, you're going to actually be learning more other things because you learn Likutei Moharan. Because when you recognize what Rebbe Nachman is teaching you is to connect more to Torah, connect more to divinity. Why are you disconnected? Because once upon a time you learned Torah as a bacha all day. Then you went to work and so you had to choose. And then you chose less and less and less and less. And you held on to one thing, if you're lucky, that you kept. Daf Yomi, you kept. And that's all the time that you have. You know why? It's not true that that's the whole time. It's because you're choosing to use your time for other things, to work and make more money. You think you really need to work harder to make more money? You think you can steal more time and make the same money or more money? If more you're connected to spirituality, the more you don't need to work, the more you don't need that time for other things because you're connected to spirituality, because God's going to give you the money anyway. And he's giving you the money anyway. You're just in Hastara thinking that your efforts are doing something more. The whole program is wrong. It's because we're in Hastara. But once you start recognizing and you start getting Daas and connection, you start realizing that I got this all wrong. Everything is screwed up. And everybody around me is screwed up. The whole Shabbos, I'm screaming that to people. You're crazy. You don't chap your mamish that you don't understand. You are working for something. Your mamish infusing the Malchus, the Sitra Acha. You're giving power to the kingship and leadership of money. What is it? What's the leadership? The leadership is money. It's such a false. It's contamination. It's poison. It is the worst thing. The Rebbe is telling it to you. It is the worst thing. It's only because you're disconnected. The second you're connected, you have everything. Who gives everything? Where is it all coming from? It's all coming from God. We believe it's coming from God, but we think we need to do the effort. No, you don't. And the second you start realizing that, the second you have more time. And when you have more time, you have more connection.
Guys, have a great day.
Everybody, have a wonderful day. We'll talk with Hashem.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go be Megala the Rebbe.
Nachman, good to see everybody. You understand what I'm saying, Nachman? I think I don't know. I hear you, but I feel like on the